So this morning is week 2 in a 3-week sermon series called Honest to God When You're Just Not Feeling It. And this came out of the realization that many of us, including myself, we can know in our heads, like, I know that following God is the best thing for me. I know it ultimately, like, wholeheartedly surrendering my life to Jesus and living for Him is the best thing for me. It ultimately will bring me the most purpose and peace in my life. And I know that in my head, but there are many times when I just don't feel like it. I might be tired, or, maybe I just feel kind of lazy or things like that. And so what do we do when you just don't feel like it? Now, one of the encouraging things we found out last week is that most, maybe all major biblical characters, including Jesus himself, went through times where they weren't feeling like it. So if you're coming here today and you're just not feeling like it, you're in really good company. And what we're doing over these 3 weeks is we're going to look at 3 Old Testament characters at times when they were not feeling it and see how they can help us understand that. So last week we looked at Jeremiah, and that helped the person who today feels like a burned out berry. So if you're feeling a little tired, weary, burned out, go watch last week's sermon. You can find it on our website and YouTube, and it kind of talks to that person there. And today we're going to learn about Moses, and Moses is going to help those of us who feel like unhealthy Ursula. And then next week we're going to look at Jonah, and Jonah is going to help those of us who feel like self-focused Sergio. So that's the plan. Today we're talking about Moses. Now, Moses is actually one of the most famous people in all of human history. I actually went to try to look up how many movies there have been made about Moses, and I found like dozens. I couldn't find all of them. There are dozens of them. I put some up on the screen there, and I'm not endorsing all these. They're not necessarily biblically accurate, but they do tell about Moses, and most of these show Moses as this like really like tough guy, like this guy who like looks really strong and like this huge like big leader, and there's a good reason for that. Moses did some pretty amazing things in his life. I mentioned he's one of the most famous people. You probably know, even if you haven't read in the Bible, you probably know at least a little bit about some of the story of his life. Let me just kind of share a few highlights of his life as we get started. So Moses was born as a Hebrew in Egypt when the Hebrews were slaves to the Egyptians. It was a really rough time for them. Moses was actually found as a little baby by an Egyptian princess and raised as an Egyptian prince. Now, the reason he was found is because the Pharaoh, the leader of Egypt, was worried that the Hebrews, who were the slaves, were getting to be too many of them. So he ordered that all the little baby boys be killed. Moses' mother actually took him, put him in a little basket, put him in the river, and knew that it was going to kind of float down to where this Egyptian princess would find it. And so it's a pretty kind of cool story there about how Moses grows up as this Egyptian prince, even though he's Hebrew. That'll be important later on. Now, later on in life, Moses is actually called by God through a burning bush to go and rescue the Israelites. That's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at that story today. And as part of him doing that, he actually confronts Pharaoh so that Pharaoh will let the Israelites leave. That doesn't necessarily go well, and so Moses communicates these plagues. You've often heard about plagues, things like locusts and frogs and water turning into blood and the killing of the Egyptians' firstborn son. So Moses communicated these plagues, and then as a result of that, he did actually lead the Israelites out of slavery, parted the Red Sea. That's, if you saw in those movie posters, a lot of the movie posters show that. That's a really just amazing thing. Parts the Red Sea, the Israelites are able to walk across it. Then they're kind of wandering around in the desert, and he is able to feed them by God providing water and bread and quail for the Israelites as they wander in the desert. And he received the 10 Commandments. Like, that's a pretty amazing thing. So Moses, there's a reason why there's all these movies made about Moses. He did unbelievably amazing things in his life. And you may be saying, hey, Josh, this is supposed to be about when we're not feeling it. You're telling me about how awesome Moses is. I can't be like 1/1000th of Moses. Now I'm even more depressed. Well, hold on, because we're going to look at a couple stories of Moses today, especially early in his life, because what's amazing is to see the way Moses felt early in his life compared to all these amazing things we know about Moses. So let's start by looking at Exodus chapter 2, verse 11, where we learn a little bit about Moses' life. All right, let's read here. Verse 11 says this: One day, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Let me stop there for just a second. So remember, Moses was born a Hebrew, but raised as an Egyptian. So he happened to be going out, and he saw that one of the Hebrews, one of his own race of people, was being treated poorly by an Egyptian. And so nobly, he doesn't have to step up, but he sees this. He sees the injustice, and so he kind of a noble thing. He wants to step in and help. Unfortunately, what happens next, not quite as noble. Verse 12 says this. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, Moses killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, "Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew?" The man said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me like you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "What I did must have become known." When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian. Okay, so we see what happens here. Moses kind of nobly wants to step in and halt the injustice, but then he kills the man, hides him, thinks he got away with it. He doesn't, so he flees. So Moses fled to go live in a distant foreign land called Midian. He ended up living there for 40 years, gets married, has kids there. But we see here some of the seeds of why Moses initially may have not been the best example of a wholehearted person following God. He may have not been feeling, well, first of all, he never quite fit in. Right? He didn't fit in with the Hebrews because even though ethnically he was Hebrew, he was raised as an Egyptian prince. And you see that in the fact that the Hebrews don't even accept him. They're like, "Are you going to kill me?" Like, they don't really accept him. The Egyptians don't accept him either. They wanted to kill him when he does this. Then he flees to Midian as a complete stranger. So he never really felt like he fit in. And that was one of the reasons that Moses felt a little bit unhealthy. In addition to that, he killed someone. I don't know about you, but when I think of like a wholehearted follower of God, I don't usually think of a murderer on the run. But that's who Moses was. Like, Moses was this person who had a really rough past. And so we're going to see that influences how he feels about himself. So we're going to jump ahead, and I want to read this story of the burning bush. And this is a little bit longer story, but I want to read through it because you're going to see over and over again how God responds to Moses when Moses isn't feeling it. All right? So follow along with me. I'm going to start in Exodus 3, verse 3. Now, Moses, again, has grown up. Right now, he's working for his father-in-law. He's gotten married. He's living in Midian. Here's what happens. Verse 3. Now, Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law. There, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. God called to him within the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here I am." "Do not come closer," God said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this moment, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. So Moses just out, doing his thing, watching kind of the sheep, his father-in-law's sheep. He's out there, and all of a sudden he sees this burning bush, and so he goes over to it, and then he realizes that it is God who is talking to him through this burning bush. It says he covered his face. He covered his face because he realized it was God talking to him, and he knew looking at God was not something he's supposed to be allowed. So he covers it. He knows he's talking to God. Let's see what God says to him. We're going to continue the story, verse 7. The Lord said to Moses, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." So God is compassionate. He sees the injustice that's going on between the Egyptians, the Pharaoh, and the Hebrews, and he's come down to save them, and he says to Moses, "Moses, you're going to go save them." Let's see how Moses responds. Verse 11. But Moses said to God, "Who am I? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" And Moses' first response is, "Hey, why me? Like, you got the wrong guy, God." Like, his initial response is one of insecurity. Like, "God, why are you picking me? I am not the right person. I am not the right person for this job." Now, you understand, Moses is talking to a burning bush that he knows is God, and he's saying to God, God, you got the wrong guy. Now, what's very interesting to see is how God responds to Moses. Right? Moses comes with this insecurity. God, you got the wrong guy. Now, if I were God, I think I would try to encourage Moses. Be like, Moses, no, Moses, you can do it. Try to puff him up. You can do this, Moses. In fact, there's reasons God could have, told Moses he was a good person for this role. He could have said, no, Moses, you're the perfect person. You are born a Hebrew, but you were raised as an Egyptian. And so you know the Hebrew culture. You know the Egyptian culture. You're the perfect person for this, Moses. You can do it. That's not how God responds. Let's see how God responds to Moses' insecurity here. Verse 12, and God said, I will be with you. And this will be the sign to you that it is I who sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Notice God's response here. The response is, God will be with you. The best response to us not feeling it, the best response to our own insecurity is not that, hey, we can do it. It's not puffing ourselves up. It's knowing that God is with us. We're going to see that over and over again, that Moses keeps going, God, and God keeps going, I will be with you. Let's look at verse 13. The story goes, Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and they do not believe me or listen to me, and they say, the Lord did not appear to you. Then the Lord said to him, what's in your hand? A staff, he replied. The Lord said, throw it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground. It became a snake, and he ran from it. The Lord said, reach out your hand, take it up by the tail. So Moses reaches out, took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. This, said the Lord, is that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. So God says, I'll be with you. Moses goes, God, they're not going to believe me. Like, they're not going to believe me that I'll go tell them, I saw this burning bush. And they're going to be like, no, you didn't. And so he says, God, what do I do now? And so God gives him this miracle that he can do, right? Turn the staff into a snake and back into a staff. So now Moses has got to be like ready to go, right? I mean, he's got this, he knows God's going to be with him. He's got this miracle he can do. Oh, okay, let's see how Moses responds. Verse 10. Moses said to the Lord, pardon your servant, Lord. I've never been very eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. So Moses has this big, and he's like, God, I no speak good. Like, I can't do it, God. I am not a good speaker. Moses, again, is going, God, you picked the wrong. Moses is not feeling it. He's like, God, I am not good enough. I'm not good enough to do what you want me to do, God. Here's how God responds, verse 11. The Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouth? Who made them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Again, God doesn't go to Moses, go, come on, Moses, you can do it. You're a good enough speaker. He says, I will be with you. I will tell you and teach you what to say. All right, Moses has got to be ready now, right? Let's see verse 13. But Moses says, pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. I love that phrase. Please send someone else. Like, it makes me laugh, just like it makes you guys laugh. It makes me laugh not actually because I'm making fun of Moses. It makes me laugh because I could see myself saying this. And I know you've said this many times too. Where you've felt like, okay, God, I know I'm supposed to follow you with my whole heart. I know I'm supposed to do all this stuff, but maybe you're asking me to step out and do something that I know I should do. And maybe I should pray more, maybe I should serve more. But God, please send someone else. Like, I just don't feel it. That's Moses. Moses is not feeling it. So if you're not feeling it today, you're in good company. But God responds to Moses now, and God responds to Moses in a way that it might surprise you a little bit. God actually gets mad at Moses here. And the reason God gets mad at Moses is because, I believe, is because God knows what Moses is going to do. God's like, Moses, you are going to rescue thousands of people from the injustice of slavery. Moses, you are going to see these amazing acts of God, parting waters, plagues, receiving the 10 commandments. You are going to do all these amazing things. Come on, Moses, you can do it. Moses isn't feeling it. Here's God's response, verse 14. Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, what about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he can speak well. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. So I do think it's interesting here that God says, okay, Moses, I understand you need some support. Let's go find your brother Aaron. That'll help you. That'll help you, Moses, feel a little better. Now, you could have done it without him, Moses, but you can have, having Aaron is not a bad thing at all. In fact, if you need that, Moses, you can do it. But ultimately, the success or failure of what is happening here does not rest on Moses or even Aaron. It rests on the fact of what God says, I will help both of you. The ultimate message is not, okay, Moses, you're good enough, and Aaron's even better, and the two of you can go do it. The confidence comes in knowing that God is with them. God promises to be with us, even when we're not feeling it. And I really love this story because it does encourage me. It really encourages me because I look at Moses, I look at what Moses did, and I go, man, God was able to take this guy Moses, the guy that said, pardon me, God, please send someone else, and take him and allow him to do these just amazing things. So if you're feeling like Moses or maybe an unhealthy Ursula, it's okay. Now, you may be feeling like Moses or unhealthy Ursula if you don't feel like you're good enough. Maybe you don't feel like you know enough. I find people a lot that feel like, well, I don't really know enough. I'm not good enough to wholeheartedly serve God, so I'm sure other people can do it. Maybe you feel like Moses or unhealthy Ursula if you feel like your past somehow disqualifies. Maybe you've done things like Moses did. Maybe you've been a part of things done to you, and you're just like, no, I can't wholeheartedly step in because of the things done in my past. Maybe you have some unhealthy life habits. Maybe it's just you're kind of over busy with life and overscheduled or something like that. Maybe you have some unhealthy ways you use your time, and so you're like, no, I can't do it. Maybe you have some habitual sins, things going on. Maybe you have addictions or unhealthy relationships or things like that are just keeping you. You're like, no, I don't feel qualified. I am unhealthy. I can't fully serve God. Well, the good news is today that if we're feeling that way, God has a message to us through Moses. And so I wanted to kind of briefly go through and look at what did we actually learn from Moses in his story. And the first thing I thought we learned is that we need to be honest to God, right? We laughed at that phrase, please send someone else. But Moses was honest, and we need to be honest about where we're at. If we're not feeling it right now, we need to be honest to God. We need to tell God, hey, this is where I am. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help anyone to try to pretend we're better than we are, to try to hide it from God. Like, God knows anyway. But yet at the same time, I feel like we still, in our minds and our hearts, we try to pretend a little bit and be like, I'm a little bit. Be honest. Be honest to God. The next thing that we learned, which I think is one of the most profound things, is that God actually prefers using people who feel unqualified. He prefers it. He's not just like, okay, well, I'm going to use Moses. He's the best of the bad options. Right? That's not the way he feels. God actually prefers using those who are unqualified. We see it over and over and over again in the Bible. And if you don't believe me, check out this video with the list of some of the unqualified people in the Bible.
Moses was not a great speaker. Jonah ran from God. Jacob was a liar. Noah got drunk. Rahab was a prostitute. David had an affair. Jeremiah was depressed, a lot. Solomon was rich in wisdom, but poor in lifestyle. John the Baptist was just plain poor. Timothy was too young. Abraham was too old. Lazarus was dead. Sarah was barren. Naomi was a widow. Gideon and Thomas both doubted, and so did Sarah. Peter lacked self-control. James and John were self-righteous. Paul had a short fuse. Well, so did Peter and Moses. Actually, lots of people did.
So if you're feeling like you're a little unqualified or unhealthy, you're in great company. Now, there's a reason God prefers to use people that are unqualified. And the reason is that God knows that only God can transform people. So the goal is not that there is some great person out there. There is no such thing as a Christian guru. If someone claims to be a Christian guru, they don't understand Christianity. The goal of Christianity is not that there's any great person out there. It's to point us towards God. Only God can change our hearts. Only God can change our minds. Only God can give us that comfort and peace we desire. No person can do that. So the goal is to point people towards God, not towards any one person. So the best way to use that is use unqualified, regular people like those in the Bible, like you and like me. That's God's goal. Point people towards God and say, hey, if you come to me, I can help you. I can give you rest. No person can do that. One of the unique things about the Bible in all of ancient literature is it shows all of those mistakes that the main people in the Bible. If you look at most of ancient literature, it takes people that are regular people and like makes them sound way better than they are, than they're gods. But the Bible points out over and over again all the faults of its main characters. Why does it do that? Because the point is to point people towards God. There's really only one message this morning, and the message is that God is with you and God can help you. One of the next things we learn, similar to what we've just been talking about, is that it's about God, not you. It's about God, not you. It's not about, if you're struggling with feeling insecure, it's about trusting God. Do I trust that God can do something? Because it's not about me. I can't do it very well. I can't speak very well. I'm not very good. I've done some things I shouldn't do. So it's not about me. The question is, do I trust God? That ultimately can give us the confidence to take us from where Moses was to where Moses became. Because that same God that was with Moses is with us today. And finally, we learn from this that we can find an Aaron to support us. I said last week that if you're feeling if you're not feeling it, and you haven't told someone, you need to reach out. Reach out to a trusted friend. You need to reach out to a spiritual advisor, someone that can support you, because we often need that. We learned that from Moses. Moses was like, I can't do it. God's like, all right, Aaron can be with you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at work, find someone who can support you in that. If you're feeling overwhelmed as like a dad or as a mom, find someone who can support you in that. If you're feeling overwhelmed because of things from your past, find someone who can support you in that. If you're feeling discouraged or down, find support that can help you. As I said, that same God that helped Moses go from that insecure guy saying, pardon me, God, please send someone else, to the amazing Moses who led people out of Egypt through that same God is with us today. The band's gonna come back up and we're gonna sing a song. The song's called Waymaker. All right, and this song is all about how God is active. I love it. It even says, hey, even when we don't see it, God is working. Right? Even when we don't feel like it, God is working.
Thank you for watching Black Rock Church's Sunday service. We're so glad you found us, and we hope this message made you feel more connected to God. In talking about connection, we find that it's super important for people to be connected to others and to community in order to grow in their faith. So if you're in the area, we invite you to join us to worship in a service. You can find out about our times and locations right here on this webpage. We'd also love to help you connect in a group and find people who can walk alongside you as you continue deepening your understanding and faith. And after you get to know us, you might even like to use your gifts to serve on a team. We believe God gave each of us unique gifts that we can use to serve those around us. One body with many different parts. If you're not able to be here in person, don't worry. We have a great online community and many ways for you to join in virtually and talk to us throughout the week. You can also stay in touch on our website, YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram. By visiting our website, you can also easily give your offering one time as an online gift or a reoccurring gift. Just click Give at the top. The Bible tells us that tithing is an important part of our relationship with Jesus, and we want to continue to trust God with our lives and our finances. Well, we are so glad you made the choice to get to know us and view one of our services. We hope that you join us next week. Thanks so much for watching.